Pickety Witch, the Pickety Witch. Who's got a kiss for the Pickety Witch?
Is it Theodore?
No, pardon, miss, I'm only a stranger.
Then have a kiss on account.
Hello. Tonight is the night before Halloween, and that means this video is going to come out in November. So I want to talk about my favorite Halloween movie. That's Sleepy Hollow.
I am Constable Ichabod Crane, sent from New York to investigate murder in Sleepy Hollow.
Sleepy Hollow is a 1999 film directed by Tim Burton, starring Johnny Depp and a whole bunch of other people. It's one of the movies that I go back to every single year on Halloween, pretty much ever since I saw it. And like I said, it came out in 1999. I didn't see it then. I would have been only 5 years old at the time. And this is not a 5-year-old movie. Well, it's not a 5-year-old movie. It's not a movie for 5-year-olds. But I was probably 7 or 8 when I saw it. It was a couple of years after it came out. And ever since then, I've been in love with this movie. It's the perfect Halloween movie. It's not about Halloween, and it's not really a scary movie, but it's got such a spirit of Halloween about it and this sense of fun that I think Halloween is to me. And it captures it perfectly. Tim Burton, since this movie was made, has done some questionable things with his career.
Wasn't that just magnificent?
His style has kind of consumed him in a way, but I think there's just enough of it in this that really lends itself to that same kind of like innocent, whimsical, macabre fun that he manages to capture, which is the same exact feeling I get around this time of year. Is my coat on fire? I need to move this back. Jesus. Okay, so right off the beginning, this movie punches you in the face with atmosphere. I mean, you got dark and stormy nights, you got foggy cornfields.
Oh, yeah.
You got this drippy, gooey red stuff. What? Is it blood? It's not blood, it's wax. It's sealing wax for a letter that's the last will and testament of somebody named Van Garrett. Or is it Von Tassel? It's the last will and testament, which is spooky. And then we get this awesome little chase sequence. We're in this dark, gothic carriage riding through this stormy, foggy night. And as the music starts to build, which I gotta say, the music in this movie is amazing.
To create the Sleepy Hollow score, Burton reunited with Danny Elfman, who composed the soundtracks for Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Edward Scissorhands, and Batman.
Pretty much every single soundtrack Danny Elfman has done for Tim Burton has really just knocked it out of the park. They have the same understanding of what makes spooky stuff fun.
I think directors sometimes find some similar aesthetic, base something that makes them, the director feels comfortable going back to that composer over and over again.
I knew pretty early on that it was going to be heavy, yet I knew because it was Tim that it was going to be fun.
And if you're as big of an Oingo Boingo fan as I am, anytime you see Danny Elfman's name in the credits, you get excited. But anyway, the movie picks up and we hear these ghostly hoofbeats and the music starts to fade. And sure enough, when he pokes his head out to see what's going on, guy's head's gone.
Decaffeinated.
The carriage driver's head's gone, not the guy that stuck his head out. That was a confusing way to word that.
Wham! His kappa is detated from his head.
From there, we get introduced to Johnny Depp's character in the movie, Ichabod Crane. And he's a forensic investigator, kind of a detective in 1799 New York. And he's fishing a body out of the river. And they take him back to the police headquarters. I don't even know what they would call it back in the day. The constabulary. So Ichabod's talking to the constables about a bunch of nerd shit, and they want him to shut up. So they send him off to Sleepy Hollow, where he's got to go check out some headless dead bodies that need poking with a stick. So the introduction to this movie doesn't really need to be hammered home how really good it is, but it is excellent. Really establishes the tone that it's going for. A little bit of humor with a lot of dark gothic imagery. really selling the vibe of the legend of Sleepy Hollow. So Ichabod meets the other characters in the movie, and they tell him what's going on and what they think is going on. They kind of divulge the legend of the Headless Horseman.
How much have your superiors explained to you, Constable?
Only that the 3 were slain in open ground, their heads found severed from their bodies.
Their heads were not found severed. Their heads were not found at all.
So no head?
So now that Ichabod's kind of caught up, he decides there's got to be a logical explanation behind this. So he's going to stick around to help, but he's not really buying into the whole Headless Horseman bit, all right? You guys can calm down. There's got to be something going on here, but it ain't that. It ain't that, though. He's going through these clues. I don't want to spoil too much, and I can't really show a whole lot of it because it's pretty graphic. That's another thing to say about this movie. Although it is, I think it's rated R. I want to say PG-13 because there's really not a whole lot of bad stuff in it. The worst you get is some blood and some really good beheading effects shots. And this movie is chock full of the best decapitations you'll find. I don't know if that's a selling point really for a movie, but for me, it kind of is. And of course, that's what you'd want in a Headless Horseman movie.
Of course it was. That's why you were here.
So you get a lot of really good decapitations. Anyway, there's this kid that gets introduced. He's the son of the villager that got his head cut off. And the character's written in a really interesting way that's not like, he's not a cliche kid side character. He's there to help. But they get into stuff together and it feels kind of Scooby-Doo-esque. Like they have this great dynamic between them. And the kid does a great job. I keep calling him the kid. He's not really a kid. He's like a teenager, I guess. He's a little older of a kid. He's not a child, is what I'm getting at. And I don't mean to insult the actor. The actor does a great job. He works really well with Ichabod. Johnny Depp and this kid have a great rapport. And just watching them is so much fun, like walking around the woods, sniffing out clues during the day. And then at night, the Headless Horseman comes back and claims another head. And it's all handled so well between balancing the different elements in this movie with the investigative side, like what's actually going on. The element of witchcraft. Is all of this a hoax? Is all of it random? Is it chaos or is it premeditated? You know, it's really well balanced and really well written, really well executed. Just a really fun movie all around. I mean, it's chock full of beautiful little visuals that scream Halloween, even though it's not shoving Halloween down your throat. I don't want to ruin this for you if you haven't seen it. I just want to recommend it because it's my favorite Halloween movie. For some reason, this movie just captures the feeling of the season of Halloween to me better than anything else does. And it's all due to the fun that's in it. It's got the horror element, the tension, it's got the violence, it's got the mystery, but it's also willing to have some fun, joke around, poke fun at itself and the characters. And it's just a great time. So if you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend you watch it. That's about it.
I am finished.